Was my maternal parent aware, in a word, of my absence from the domiciliary residence? Would he put this latter question to me as to a man of veracity, and would he bind himself to abide by my reply? And once more he would demand explicitly if my mother knew that I was out. My confusion, he said, betrayed me, and he would be willing to bet the devil his head that she did not. Mr. Dammit did not pause for my rejoinder. Turning upon his heel, he left my presence with undignified precipitation. It was well for him that he did so. My feelings had been wounded. Even my anger had been aroused. For once I had been taken him up upon his insulting wager, I would have won for the arch enemy Mr. Dammit's little head. For the fact is, my mom was very well aware of my merely temporary absence from home. But Koda Shifa Midihead, heaven gives relief, as the Mussulmans say when you tread upon their toes. It was in pursuance of my duty that I had been insulted, and I bore the insult like a man. It now seemed to me, however, that I had done all that could be required of me in the case of this miserable individual, and I resolved to trouble him no longer with my counsel, but to leave him to his conscience and to himself. But although I forbore to intrude with my advice, I could not bring him to myself to give up his society altogether. I even went so far as to humor some of his less reprehensible propensities, and there were times when I found myself lauding his wicked jokes as epicures do mustard, with tears in my eyes. So profoundly did it grieve me to hear his evil talk. One fine day, having strolled out together, arm in arm, our route led us in the direction of the river. There was a bridge, and we resolved to cross it. It was roofed over by way of protection from the weather, and the archway, having but few windows, was thus very uncomfortably dark. As we entered the passage, the contrast between the external and the glare and the interior gloom struck heavily upon my spirits. Not so upon those of the unhappy Dammit who offered to bet the devil said that I was hipped. He seemed to be in an unusual good humor. He was excessively lively, so much that I entertained that I'd known not what of uneasy suspicion. It is not impossible that he was affected with the transcendentals. I am not well enough versed, however, in the diagnosis of this disease to speak with decision upon the point, and unhappily there were none of my friends of the dial present. I suggest the idea, nevertheless, because a certain species of austere merry andourism, which seems to beset my poor friend, and caused him to make quite a tomfool of himself. Nothing would serve him but wriggling and skipping about under and over everything that came in his way, now shouting out, and now lisping out all manner of odd little and big words, yet preserving the gravest face in the world of all time. All the time. I really could not make up my mind whether to kick or to pity him. At length, having passed nearly across the bridge, we approached the termination of the footway, when our process was impeded by a turnstile of some height. Through this I made my way quietly, pushing it around as usual, but this turn would not serve the turn of Dammit. Mr. Dammit. He insisted upon leaping the stile and said I could cut a pigeon wing over it in the air. Now this Conscientiously speaking, I did not think he could do. The best pigeon winger over all kinds of style was my friend Mr. Carlyle, and as I knew he could not do it, I would not believe it could be done by Toby, damn it. I therefore told him in so many words that he was a braggadocio and could not do what he said. For this, I had reason to be sorry afterward, for he straightway offered to bet the devil his head that he could. I was about to reply, notwithstanding my previous resolutions, with some remonstrance against his impiety, when I heard close at my elbow a slight cough, which sounded very much like an ejaculation. Ahem! I started and looked about me in surprise. My glance was at length fell into a nook of the framework of the bridge, and upon the figure of the lame old gentleman of venerable aspect. Nothing could be reverent about his whole appearance, for he not only had on a full suit of black, but his shirt was perfectly clean, and the collar turned very neatly downward over a white cravat, while his hair was parted in front like a girl's. His hands were clasped pensively together over his stomach, and his two eyes were carefully rolled up in the back top of his head. Upon observing him more closely, I perceived that he wore a black silk apron over his small clothes, and this was a thing which I thought very odd. Before I had time to make any remark, however, upon so singular a circumstance, he interrupted me with a second ahem. To this observation I was not immediately prepared to reply. The fact is, remarks of this laconic nature are nearly unanswerable. I have known a quarterly review nonplussed by the word fudge. I am not ashamed to say, therefore, that I turned to Mr. Demmett for assistance. Damn it, said I. What are you about? Don't you hear? The gentleman says ahem. I looked sternly at my friend when I thus addressed him, for, to say the truth, I felt particularly puzzled. And when a man is particularly puzzled, he must knit his brows and look savage, or else he's pretty sure to look like a fool. Damn it, observed I, although this sounded very much like an oath, than which nothing was further from my thoughts. Damn it, I suggested. The gentleman says ahem. I did not attempt to defend my remark on the score of profundity. I do not think it profound myself, but I've noticed the effect of our speeches is not always proportionate with their importance in our own eyes, and if I had shot Mr. D through and through with a Taction bomb, or knocked him on the head with the poets and poetry of America, he could hardly have been more discomfited than I when I addressed him with those simple words. Damn it, what are you about? Don't you hear? The gentleman says ahem. You don't say so? Gasped he at length, after turning more colors than a pirate runs up, one after the other, when chased at by a man of war. Are you quite sure he said that? Well, at all other events, am I in it for it now? It may as well put a bold face upon the matter. Here goes then. Ahem. At this the little old gentleman seemed pleased. God only knows why. He left the station at the nook of the bridge, limped forward with a gracious air, took Dammit by the hand and shook it cordially, looking all the while straight up in the air, his face in the air with the most unadulterated benignity which it is possible for the mind of a man to imagine. I'm quite sure you'll win it, damn it, said he, with the frankest of all smiles. But we are obliged to have a trial, you know, for the sake of mere form. Ahem, replied my friend, taking off his coat, with a steep sigh tying a pocket handkerchief around his waist, and producing uncountable alteration in his countenance by twisting up his eyes and bringing down the corners of his mouth. "Ahem, and ahem," said he again after a pause, and not another word more than ahem did I ever know him to say after that. Aha, thought I, without expressing myself aloud. This is a quite remarkable silence on the part of Toby Dammit, and is no doubt a consequence of his verbosity upon a previous occasion. One extreme induces another. I wonder if he has forgotten the many unanswerable questions which he has propounded to me so fluently on the day when I gave him my last lecture. At all events, he is cured of the transcendentals. Ahem, he replied, Toby, just as if he had been reading my thoughts, and looking very much like a very old sheep in a reverie. The old gentleman took him by the arm and then led him more into the shade of the bridge, a few paces back from the turnstile. My good fellow, said he, I make it a point of conscience to allow you this much run. Wait here till I make my place by the stile, so that I may see whether or not you go over handsomely and transcendentally, and do not omit any flourishes of the pigeon wing. A mere form, you know. I will say 1, 2, 3, and away. Mind you, start at the word away. Here he took his position by the stile, paused a moment as if in profound reflection, then looked up, and I thought smiled very slightly, and tightened the strings of his apron, and then took a long look at Dammit, and then finally gave his word as agreed upon. 1, 2, 3, and away! Punctually at the word away, my poor friend set off in a strong gallop. The stile was not very high like Mr. Lord's, yet not very low like that of Mr. Lord's reviewers. But upon the whole I made sure that he would clear it. And then what if he did not? Ah, that was the question. What if he did not? What right, said I, had the little old gentleman to make other than the other gentleman jump? The little old Doc carry one. Who is he? If he asks me to jump, I won't do it. That's flat. And I don't care who the devil he is. The bridge, as I say, was arched and covered in front, in a very ridiculous manner, and there was a most uncomfortable echo about it at all times, an echo which I never before so particularly observed is when I uttered the four last words of my remark. But what I said, or what I thought, or what I heard, or occupied only an instant. In less than 5 seconds from his starting, my poor Toby had taken the leap. I saw him run nimbly and spring grandly from the floor to the bridge, cutting the most awful flourishes with his legs as he went up. I saw him high in the air and pigeon wing it to admiration just over the top of the stile, and of course I thought it was a very unusual singular thing that did not continue to go over. But the whole leap was the affair of the moment, and before I had a chance to make any profound reflections, down came Mr. Dammit on the flat of his back, on the same side of the stile from which he had started. At the same instant, I saw the old man limping off at the top of the speed, having caught and wrapped up in his apron something that fell heavily into it from the darkness over the arch of the turn, just over the turnstile. At all this I was much astonished, but I had no leisure to think, for Mr. Dammit had laid particularly still, and I concluded that his feelings had been hurt, that he stood in need of my assistance. I hurried up to him and found him that he received what might be termed a serious injury. The truth is, he had been deprived of his head, which, after a close search, I could not find it anywhere, so I determined to take him home and send him for the homeopathist. In the meantime, a thought struck me, and I threw open an adjacent window over the bridge, when the sad truth flashed upon me at once. About 5 feet above just above the top of the turnstile, and crossing the arch of the footpath as to constitute a brace, there extended a flat iron bar, lined with its breadth horizontally and forming one of the series of served to strengthen it. When the structure through its extent With the edge of this brace, it appeared evident that the neck of my fortunate friend had come precisely into contact. He did not long survive this terrible loss. The homeopaths did not give him little physic. And what little they gave him, he hesitated to take.